So you've got a miracle story for me?
Yes, sir, I do.
What'd you got?
Well, I was thinking a deliverance story, an exciting but scary thrill ride of people led out into the wilderness.
Deliverance, huh? You're thinking the Appalachian Mountains? That's gonna be tough. We don't have Burt Reynolds under contract, and that's an R rating.
What?
You said deliverance.
As in God delivering his people.
I could feel rather silly right now, but instead I'll just assume the miscommunication was your fault.
Okay.
So deliverance, but no dueling banjos.
Right.
So what is this story about?
Well, it centers around God and one people he has chosen.
What are they called?
Hebrews.
What's he brewing?
What?
Never mind, go on.
And so by the time the story starts, they will have been enslaved for a long time in Egypt.
How long is a long time?
Like 43 years. Oh, what? Is the slavery angle a problem?
Not the idea.
Oh, good.
But I think the number could be cooler.
Cooler?
I'm thinking 10 years. Call me a Hamilton fan, but I like 10s.
10.
Yeah, those numbers tend to work for our Holy Day studios. Commandments, minions, generations, fingers, toes. Just something cooler about the number 10. I can always count on them.
10.
Great.
It just seems kind of short.
Well, it's not as short as 43.
What? How? But 10 is shorter than 43.
We'll just have to agree to disagree.
What about 430?
430?
Yeah, that's 10 times 43.
430. That's perfect. How did you do that?
Math?
Well, someone's got a secret weapon.
Yep.
And before you say another word, what's the holy day going to be called?
Pesach. It means Passover.
Passover. Sounds cryptic.
Oh, is that bad?
No, not at all.
Oh, good.
Cryptic names are tight. So where were we?
Right, so the Hebrew people are brutally enslaved for 430 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they cry out to be delivered, rescued by God. And that's when we introduce the human protagonist, Moshe.
And when we meet him, is he strong and powerful?
No, he's a baby.
What do we do with a baby?
Well, you put him in a basket and send him down the Nile River, of course.
Isn't that dangerous?
Inherently.
Well, okay then.
So he's found by the Pharaoh's daughter, and she raises Moshe in the royal court.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, and then we're going to skip 40 years ahead, and Moshe is going to find an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave.
Oh, does Moshe try to talk the Egyptian out of this act of violence?
No, he straight up murders him.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the Pharaoh puts out a hit on Moshe, and so Moshe runs away to a distant land called Midian.
I didn't see that coming.
And there Moshe rescues several girls from some shepherds, and then he works for the girl's dad, and then he marries one of them named Zipporah.
This is all rather sudden.
And then we skip ahead another 40 years and he's a shepherd now. And then he sees a bush that's on fire, but it's not burned. And it's God.
That's surprising. I am surprised. This is my surprised face.
Yeah, so God says, Moshe, Moshe.
This would leave me speechless.
And Moshe answers, here I am.
He's clearly taking this better than I would.
And God tells Moshe his name and that he has heard the cries of his people.
Mm-hmm.
And for Moshe to take off his sandals and to go back to Egypt and to tell the new Pharaoh that it's time to let his people go.
Does Moshe understand what's going on? Because I don't.
Oh, he understands because he's a bright guy. That's why God picked him out of the lineup for this job.
I'll bet he's not excited about going back to Egypt, though.
No, he's not, so he offers a bunch of excuses.
Oh yeah? Like what?
Well, he asks, what if the people don't believe me?
Yeah? What then?
God tells him to give him a sign. And then he changes Moshe's staff into a snake.
Ooh, snake-changing staffs are tight.
And then Moshe has to pick up the staff.
Okay, that's like a nightmare of mine. So does he do it?
He does.
That's brave.
Yeah, and then God tells him to put his hand inside of his cloak so God can give him leprosy and then take it away again.
And he does it?
He does.
I can see why Moshe is the right man for the job. He's got some chutzpah.
He does. He's also the humblest man on the face of the earth.
Really? According to whom?
Moshe.
Wait, Moshe wrote that he was the most humble man on earth?
Yep.
Doesn't that seem a bit suspect?
I mean, I doubt the most humble man on earth would lie about something like that.
Yeah, but wouldn't people get suspicious if the award for being the most humble goes to you if you're the guy giving the award?
I don't know what to tell you. It says it right here in Deuteronomy.
Can I see that?
Oh, sorry, 6-foot rule.
Good point.
So then Moshe makes another excuse, saying he is slow of speech and tongue.
For a guy who's slow of speech, he sure does a lot of talking.
Well, that's true.
So then what?
Moshe asks God to send someone else.
And what does God do?
Well, he agrees to have Moshe's older brother join him.
So he goes to Egypt?
He does, and when Moshe and his brother ask Pharaoh to let God's people go,
I'll bet Pharaoh says no.
you guessed it,
So then what happens?
Moshe's brother throws the staff down and it becomes a snake to show God's power.
Ah, that beloved staff to snake trick is getting some mileage.
Yeah, but Pharaoh refuses to release the Hebrew slaves.
Why doesn't he?
Because his heart is hardened.
That's a shock.
No, actually, it's not.
It's not?
No, God tells Moshe from the start this is what's going to happen and gives him the play-by-play of how it's going to end.
Wait, if God knows the future, can't he just change Pharaoh's mind and release the slaves?
Yeah,
So why doesn't he do it?
because.
Yeah, but why though?
I don't know.
I mean, if God knows what will happen, couldn't he just do it himself and leave Moshe out of this?
Yeah, or we could just stop psychoanalyzing God. Maybe it's so that people could argue over predestinationism or free will for the next 3.5 millennia.
Fair enough.
And each time Moshe asks, Pharaoh refuses. And each time God sends a plague against Egypt to make Pharaoh reconsider.
How many plagues are we talking about here?
I was thinking 3
Uh,
plus 7 makes 10.
attaboy.
So first the Nile River turns to blood.
That's a lot of blood.
Sure is, about 79 billion gallons worth to be exact.
Wow. Wow.
And a week later, there's an army of frogs.
It's an army, like an invasion?
No, that's just the collective name for a large amount of frogs, like a school of fish.
Ah, I see. Like a litter of kittens.
Or a flock of seagulls.
Oh, was there a plague of 1980s rock bands with bad hairdos as well?
No, why do you ask?
Well, you said flock of seagulls.
Oh, did they sing something important?
Sure, lots of songs.
Like what?
I ran so far away.
Not if you're a Hebrew slave in Egypt, you didn't.
So what comes next?
Well, next come a cloud of gnats.
Ah, more collective nouns.
And then a business of flies.
Seriously? A swarm of flies is called a business?
Well, you're awfully curious.
You're right, none of my business.
And then comes a plague on the livestock. And then one of boils.
Ooh, that's bad.
And then the worst hailstorm ever to hit Egypt, with thunder and everything.
Wow, that's the worst.
You'd think so, but then comes a plague of locusts.
Oh, and what do you call a plague of locusts?
A plague.
No, I mean, what's the collective noun for locusts?
A plague.
Oh, well, they made that one easy.
Yeah, and then comes darkness for 3 days.
So Pharaoh still doesn't let the Hebrews go?
No, not until the 10th and final plague.
Oh, and what's that one?
It's when God kills off every firstborn son in all of Egypt.
Whoa.
Yeah, and every oldest son dies at midnight.
But not the firstborn animals, right?
Yeah, the animals too.
Whoa.
But God commands the Hebrews to protect their sons by killing a Passover lamb.
Yeah. Okay, that's weird.
And using a plant to smear the blood on the outside door frame of their homes.
And why does God order them to do that?
So that God will pass over the homes with the blood and not include them in his killing spree.
Wow, that's dark.
No, the darkness was the last plague.
So is this why it's called Passover?
Yep, Pesach in Hebrew means to pass over.
Oh, I feel like we've come full circle.
Yeah.
But wait, so why does God need lamb's blood for this miracle? Couldn't he just ask for a do not disturb sign?
For the same reason he commands his people not to let the bread rise and to avoid chametz.
Chametz? What's that?
It's anything with yeast in it.
Oh, so the Hebrews can only eat matzah?
Right, it's the bread of the affliction.
Are they supposed to enjoy eating it?
Well, no, not unless they're matzah-kists.
So why does God command it? The blood and the chametz and all that?
For reasons.
Yeah, but what are they?
Well, look, if you're going to command people to tell this story to their children for the next 3,500 years, you're going to have to throw in some mysterious parts to keep it interesting.
Fair enough.
Plus, God is thinking long term. This one night is going to be echoed and relived for the rest of the people's history for every Seder dinner to come.
Yeah.
Saving lives through the blood of the Lamb, God delivering his people.
There's room for big sequels here. I like it.
So Pharaoh tells Moshe the Hebrew people can go now.
Oh, and where are they going?
Well, God has promised them a land beyond Egypt.
Oh, and what's it called, this promised land?
Yep, that's it.
What's it?
The promised land.
That's its name? The adjective and the noun with capital letters is its name?
Yep.
Okay.
So God tells Moshe to tell the millions of people to keep this Passover feast every year. And then comes their exodus.
Sounds like a great soundtrack.
And the Egyptians are eager to see them gone, so they give them a bunch of treasure to get them to leave.
Ooh, I know I would too.
Right?
And is Moshe leading this ragtag band of ex-slaves?
Well, sort of. God has a pillar of fire and smoke to lead his people day and night.
Ooh, that sounds terrifying.
As if the 10 plagues weren't enough. Anyway, they reach the shore of the Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds.
They must be really grateful to Moshe for saving them.
No, actually, they hate him and they blame him for killing them all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they say, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us out in the desert to die?
That does sound like one of the least grateful things you could say, yeah.
See, while they want to get out of Egypt into the Promised Land, Pharaoh changes his mind and goes after them with a huge army of chariots and horses.
So the Egyptian army is speeding toward them, ready to wipe them out or enslave them.
Yup.
And they're cornered against the Sea of Reeds?
Pretty much, yep.
And the people are blaming Moshe for leading them to certain death.
That sums it up nicely.
Boy, that sounds like it's going to be an impossible situation to escape.
Actually, it'll be super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, at the last second, God is going to perform a miracle and all the Hebrews are going to travel across the sea.
You mean he's going to provide boats?
No.
Moshe's engineers are going to build a bridge?
No.
So how's God going to get them across?
He's going to part the sea in half.
Wow.
Yeah, all throughout the night, God's pillar of fire will keep the Egyptian army at bay, and Moshe will lift his hand and God will send winds to blow the waters of the sea to either side.
Wow, I didn't see that one coming.
Well, neither did Pharaoh.
So this is kind of like Moshe's parting gift to Pharaoh.
I see what you did there.
And so Pharaoh's army is going to be amazed and go back home defeated, right?
Well, no, they're going to race after Moshe to kill the Hebrews.
Well, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
No, in fact, it's a terrible idea.
I mean, there's a huge churning wall of water on your right and your left.
Not the smartest move.
I was thinking that maybe Pharaoh would reconsider his life choices and go back to Egypt and raise foster puppies or help out at a soup kitchen or something.
It's not going to happen.
So what does happen?
Well, God tells Moshe to raise his hand, and then the walls of water come crashing together, and all the Egyptian army drown or are crushed by millions of pounds of debris and pressurized water.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so the Hebrews have been delivered.
But wait, I have a question.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, why would Pharaoh change his mind and go after the Hebrews when he's already seen what their God can do?
Well, it's simple.
Yeah?
Because he's evil.
That's it?
Yeah, his heart is hardened.
Yeah, but he's already lived through the 10 plagues, and his Egyptian people specifically said to the Hebrews, leave this country, for otherwise we will all die.
Yeah.
So why does he go after them?
It's because his heart is hardened. He's got a hardened heart. It's too much cholesterol.
Yeah, but you can be evil and not be terminally stupid. So who hardened his heart?
Well, God did.
But God wants his people to leave. Why would he harden Pharaoh's heart?
No, that's true.
Yeah, but why does he do it?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Well, so they've crossed the sea, and you've probably noticed all of this so far has been pretty dark.
I'm not dead, so yeah, I noticed.
So I was thinking this would be the perfect place for it.
I know what you're gonna say. Comic relief.
What?
Moshe could tell the people crossing the riverbed, hey, don't touch the seafood. I'll tell you why later. Or how many pharaohs does it take to screw in a light bulb? Only one, but he doesn't let it go.
Actually, I was thinking this would be the perfect time for a song.
Oh, a musical.
Yeah, I think this is where Miriam gets to shine. She and her younger bro Moshe get to belt out a duet here.
Are you sure? There's like half of Egypt dead in the background and you want to insert a sing-along right here?
Sure, everyone loves songs.
Alright, just this once. But I don't want to give people a precedent to set this monumental story of deliverance through all these plagues and death to a soundtrack.
No, of course not.
Because I can't imagine anyone making money off of a musical about the Passover story.